so exciting. It's like the first night of a play. Everybody, hush. We're good. Yeah, but it's independent of the actual recording.
Anyway,
Good evening and welcome to the Harwich Select Board meeting for Monday, April 27th, 2026. We had mercifully no executive session tonight, so now that I've called this into order, could you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, let's start out with staff comments and/or announcements.
Hi everyone, good evening. Ashley Symington, Director of Youth and Family Services. I just wanted to let you all know May 1st is Friday, and that kicks us off for National Mental Health Awareness Month. As a result of that, my department is hosting an event on Saturday up at the community center called Let's Talk Mental Health. It is a community learning day that will feature a variety of presentations on a breadth of mental health topics, inviting people to come, learn, be part of the conversation. I'm really excited and really grateful that we have presenters coming from Children's Cove, doing a presentation called Keeping Children Safe. Elizabeth Novak will be talking about executive function and ADHD. Lucy Troback from Children's Place Wellspring team is going to be doing a presentation called Resilient You. Harwich community member Charles Gruska will be presenting Developing and Preserving Self-Esteem in Each Other. And then we have two shorter skills sessions that will be going on to kind of wrap up the day. One is called Room to Breathe, it's strategies for coping. And the other one is actually being put on by Harwich Police Department chaplain. Reverend Darren Morgan is going to be doing Grounded and Growing, a practical guide to spiritual wellness. So it's taking place up the street at the community center from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. this coming Saturday. It is free to attend. Open to everyone, and I'm inviting and encouraging everyone who's 14 and older to please come be part of that conversation. We need to talk about mental health. We need to talk about mental health more, and this is a great opportunity to kind of be part of that. So thank you.
Thanks.
Stephanie Reidner, Natural Resources Department. We still have resident taxpayer herring permits available at the office for purchase, and our herring harvest is at less than 1% of the run so far. So we've had about 211,000 fish and change come through the run, and the actual harvested amount is still under 1% of that. Thanks.
Reagan Welda, Harwich Community Center. I'm here in Carolyn's absence, so say all good things. We just began, I'm going to go over May's events. We just began a new series with Harwich Health Center called Beauty, Balance, Vitality. It's an introduction to the new concept of health span, focusing on healthy years of life and quality of life. Upcoming dates are April 28th, May 5th, May 12th, from 6:30 to 7:30. It's a free event and registration is suggested. Pasta dinner. Did I do okay?
She'd be proud of you.
Thank you. Thursday, May 7th from 5:30 to 7 or until we run out of food. Free pasta open to the public. Anybody is welcome to join. May 8th at 2:30, we have a talk with science educator and communications specialist Betty Trummel talking about her South to Adventure explorations. She explored the Falkland Islands, South Gregoria Island, I think I said that right, and the Antarctic Peninsula. The talk will include slideshow with lots of amazing photographs from her trips. On May 15th, join us for a sound bath meditation. It's about an hour-long guided meditation, $10 a person, and registration's required. May 19th, we'll have an introduction to metta meditation at 9:30 a.m. at the community center. It's an ancient practice focusing on opening of the heart. It's a free event, all are welcome, and registration is also required. On May 20th, from 3 to 5 p.m., in collaboration with the Council on Aging, we'll be having a screening of In the Whale. It's the documentary about Cape Cod lobster fisherman diver Michael Packard, who survived being swallowed by a humpback whale. It's a free event and space is limited. Registration is required for that. It's already filling up, so. Friday, May 22nd, from 6:30 to 8, we have open mic night. All are welcome to perform or simply come and support. Bring your friends, your creativity. It's a free event. Sign up in advance or at the door. Wednesday, May 27th, the Sound Dunes Swing Band is going to do their spring concert. This is a tribute to the USO shows. There'll be music, dancing, refreshments, and a comedian. May 29th at 6, we're going to do slime making, backed by popular demands. All supplies are provided, registration is required, and it is open to all ages. Lastly, in partnership with the Harwich Animal Control Officer, Jen Harrington, she is going to be doing a Kids and Dogs workshop on May 30th from 9 to 12 p.m. Kids will learn fun and easy training games to do at home, and Jen will teach basic canine body language for all ages. Please leave your pets at home. They will have demo working dogs at the event.
Thanks. Hi, everybody. Jen Anderson, your new program specialist in the Recreation Department. Just wanted to say hello and give you a quick update. We have fielded our grades 4 to 6 and grades 2 to 3 co-ed softball teams to compete in the Lower Cape Recreational League. Practice started last week, but there is still room to join for the grades 2 to 3, so we're still recruiting some kiddos for that. Our ages 3 to 5 T-ball, our grades K to 2 Farm League baseball, and pre-K soccer are scheduled to start this week, but we need some coaches to help make that happen. So we are still recruiting for that. Registration is open for daily reserve play for our pickleball players over at Brooks Park. And we'll be finalizing soon our summer staffing, training, and the beach operation plan. But we will be opening and guarding starting June 27th, at least at Red River, with gate guards at Earl, Pleasant, and Long Pond. We do, though, need a few more lifeguards. So to apply for a job, help with coaching, apply for a program, please call our office, 508-430-7553, or visit harwichma.myrec.com. So thank you. I look forward to working with you all and meeting the rest of you, too. Good night.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Great. A lot of stuff happening out of the community center. All right, so weekly briefing.
Right, the weekly update regarding Phase 3 wastewater project. This is construction on Phase 3 sewer extension continues to advance across both 1E and 2W as crews move into the final days of April and the first week of May. And to note, I actually learned last week that that's two different projects, E1 and 2W. That took me a month here, 6 weeks to figure out. I've been reading it every week and I now understand that, so it's helpful.
Can't get anything past you.
Yeah, can't get anything past me.
That's why we don't use acronyms.
Yeah, so that was a earful to figure out how that was broken up. But in 1E area, the work is progressing along Pleasant Bay Road towards Hall's Path on Route 39 north of Bova Code, and on Bova Code Road where the installation of the gravity sewer main and manholes continue. On Kendrick Road, crews are completing brick inverts within manholes and conducting gravity sewer testing. Pump station work is also moving forward at both Route 39 pump station and the Bova Code pump station, including excavation, wet well, and vault installation and testing. In the 2W area, construction continues on Elm Drive, Maple Lane, where crews are testing gravity sewer and installing sewer laterals, completing brick inverts and manholes. Additional work is also planned on Charlene Lane as manhole structures advance. At the Chestnut Lane pump station, both interior and site work are underway, and they're testing the force main. Activities represent continued coordinated progress across multiple streets and pump stations as the project moves deeper into the construction season. That's it, Mr. Chair.
Okay, questions for Town Administrator? All right, thank you. Public comments and/or announcements. A rare moment.
Hello, my name is Olivia Sukalis, resident of East Harwich. I am currently enrolled
We're gonna need you to talk up a little bit
I'm
more
sorry.
for the folks at home.
My name is Olivia Sukalis, resident of East Harwich. I am currently enrolled in Cape Cod's Leadership Institute. Alongside me is my cohort members, Ann and Mike. I'm here today to raise awareness about an organization for our schools to support our very own youth, as well as ask the board for their general support with recommendation letters. The organization is called Sharing Kindness, headquartered right here in Harwich. It provides programs across the Cape and Island schools with grief support, suicide prevention, and mental health education. Sharing Kindness provides Cape and Island schools with Hope Squads, an evidence-based peer-to-peer suicide prevention program. These squads are organized to reduce youth suicide risk through education, training, and peer intervention. 12 of our Cape and Island schools have Hope Squads within, and currently 2 middle schools. Sharing Kindness is seeking the support to expand into 6 additional middle schools over the next year. Why is this program necessary? From 2007 to 2021, the suicide rate among young people ages 10 to 24 rose by 62%. According to Barnstable County, as of 2024, Cape Cod experiences a suicide rate roughly 1.5 times higher than the Massachusetts state average. Sharing Kindness has an upcoming fundraising walk on Saturday, May 16th, that starts at Veterans Park Beach in Hyannis. The purpose is to raise awareness about suicide in the community and raise funds to help expand the Hope Squad program to 6 more middle schools. Once again, my ask today is for the Select Board to provide our Cape Cod local schools with a strong letter supporting and encouraging the expansion of Hope Squads. Each and every school should have Hope Squads within. This is a proven program and deserves expansion in our communities our youth call home. I also have some additional information, if I could hand that along.
Thank you.
With the fundraising information as well. Thank you.
Before you go, do you folks have like a draft of the letter?
Yes.
Of support?
No, we can get that for you.
Yeah, please do, because
Okay.
we could put that on
Absolutely.
a subsequent agenda so it's out there.
Okay. Thank you.
Hello, Ann Frechette, East Harwich. I just wanted to add to what Olivia just said. The other ask we have is, I know you have a new town newsletter, and it's awesome, and I'm so glad you have it. And we're hoping that the announcement for the suicide prevention walk can be included in your newsletter so that people just know about it.
So we're working on the May one this week, so if you could send it tomorrow.
Oh, it's right there.
Do you have it electronically?
I could send it to you.
That'd
Yeah.
be great.
Great, thank you.
Any other public comments? Okay, we're moving right along. Consent agenda.
Mr. Chair, I move we approve the Select Board meeting minutes from April 13th, 2026.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes from April 13th, 2026. Any further comments, changes, anything? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous.
Mr. Chair, I move we approve the resignation of Karen Murata of the Traffic Safety Committee effective immediately.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the resignation for Karen Murata from the Traffic Safety Committee. Any further comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous. Okay. We were really looking forward to this, Jen.
Me too.
Before we get it further, just to start it off in the right vein, it's been extremely impressive how you just jumped into all different areas of things that I believe that at least one of our other members and I have been asking for several years, and you've done them in less than several months. So really appreciate the effort you're putting into all
Thank
this.
Sleep is overrated.
It is.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, if I could just jump in for one thing before Jen starts the presentation, is I had the opportunity today to meet with GHD for one of our structured, we meet, I think, twice a month to go over sewer, wastewater stuff. And one of the things that GHD had been contemplating for the last, it sounds like, year, was financial projections around sewer and what that would look like debt-wise. And they literally had been in the process of engaging a consultant to put together a similar presentation to what we're about to hear tonight, and they were in the $100,000 to $200,000 range.
Don't expect that.
I think it deserves the context of that.
It's absolutely, that's why we wanted to hire her.
So are we able to sell this to them?
Yeah, we could sell. They also told me, and GHD works in a lot of towns doing this, and, and this is part of why Jen is so nervous giving this presentation, is GHD said that they haven't worked at one community where in-house they've worked on trying to do this and present it. So I give Jen a lot of credit for realizing that this is not an easy thing to look at because there's so many assumptions, which she'll get into, but, you know, it's what she's done for the board and for the community is pretty exceptional. So,
So you are establishing the bar, no pressure.
No pressure, none. Great, so thank you very much for this opportunity. I think this was one of the first asks that you made of me when I was officially an employee, so here we go. Before I get into the numbers, I want to say something about how this presentation came to exist, because I think it really matters to how you'll receive it. When I was asked by the board to put together this long-term debt outlook, my first reaction was honestly some apprehension. Not because the picture is too scary, though parts of it are challenging, but because 25 years into the future requires making a lot of assumptions and about things that none of us can know today, that will likely be looked back in the future with judgment. Interest rates, construction costs, property values, future borrowing decisions that haven't been made yet. Every one of those inputs is a judgment call, and reasonable people will all make those calls differently. If you were to put 5 finance directors in a room and ask them each to independently build this model, you would get 5 different sets of numbers, and none of them would be right in the end. Some would be more conservative, some more optimistic, but I'm confident of one thing. All 5 would show you the same basic trajectory. The direction isn't the question. The sewer program is large, and the capital needs are real. What I ask of this board and the community tonight is to engage with the trajectory, not to audit the individual numbers. I've documented every single assumption I've made in the appendix of this presentation. I stand behind my methodology, as I have dedicated a great deal of time, thought, and analysis to my informed assumptions. I am viewing this as the start of a long and evolving conversation for years to come as projections evolve into facts. If we spent tonight debating about whether the sewer inflation rate should be 3.1% versus 3%, we will have missed the point entirely. This is a planning tool. It's not a promise. It's not a guarantee, and it's not a certified forecast. It is my best, honest effort to show you where Harwich is headed, so that the decisions that you make today, from today forward, are made with eyes wide open. I want to quickly thank a few people that helped me along the way in this project. First, Jay McGrail, our new town administrator. He, for me, from day one, has been a voice of reason, a calm in the storm, and a partner in every step of this professional journey. Martha Donovan, chair of the Capital Outlay Committee. She was one of the first people I reached out to when I put together my first iteration of this, and her advice was very sound and gave me great confidence to move forward, so thank you. Scott Norum, Finance Committee member, always a constructive resource for all things finance. He's my guy. I want to thank the finance team broadly for their support and help in days when I needed to just close the door and focus on, some of these assumptions and making this the best that it could be. And lastly, I want to thank the Select Board and the Finance Committee for their trust and support. It is my honor to serve in this role. As we transition to the numbers and the details, a few things to note. First, this is about excluded debt service only. That's the piece of the resident property tax bill that voters vote separately, outside the normal limits of Proposition 2.5. An important fact is that every number I show you tonight either already has been or will need to be authorized by residents at town meeting and at the ballot box. So let's dig in. Here's what we're covering tonight. We'll start with where we stand today and how the existing debt behaves on its own. Then I'll show you the full forward picture, everything we expect to borrow over the next 25 years and why. Then I'll put it in real household terms, and I'll close with what I think the board should take away. There's an appendix at the end that documents every single assumption behind this model: sources, rates, terms, everything. Nothing here is in a black box. So let me start with the genuinely good news. This chart shows you what happens to our existing excluded debt if we stopped borrowing today, showing only the bonds that are already on the books. They mature, they pay off, and the line goes down. We're at about $6.1 million in debt service in fiscal year 27, the second line on that chart. Without considering any new borrowing, that number declines substantially over time, dropping towards the 700,000 range by 2050. And a note, thank you, Scott, for pointing out that I had made some last-minute adjustments to this chart, and I forgot to change the heading number. It says we go down to 2.5 million by 2047. Clearly, that heading number is incorrect, and what I just said, dropping towards 700,000 by 2050, is the correct number. That will obviously be corrected in a future iteration. So basically, the baseline is a good one. The question is what we layer on top of it, and that's what the next slide is about. So now here's the full picture, and I want to give you some real context before I describe exactly what's on this chart. Each colored layer is a different category of borrowing. It's hard to see on the screen, but you might see it better on a printout or. But the dark blue at the bottom is the existing debt that ties to the prior chart that I showed you. It declines over time as bonds pay off, as we just talked about. The teal layer just above that is the debt that's already authorized by town meeting but not yet borrowed. To date, currently it is about $61 million in principal value. Some of it is sewer related, and the actual final amount borrowed could come in lower than authorized, as some recent quotes have come in less than estimated totals. The orange area above that is capital projects from the 5-year plan. The DPW facility, fire apparatus, marina bulkhead, similar items. Beyond fiscal 27, my assumption is that only items greater than $1 million in the capital plan are assumed to be borrowed. The purple is a placeholder for ongoing capital needs beyond the 5-year plan. I have assumed $3 million a year, 3.5% interest on a 10-year term, and that is in nominal, non-inflation adjusted dollars. The green is Harwich's share of the new school, the new school project. I do need to flag a correction here. When I originally built this, and before I did my final rechecks over the weekend, realized that I had included a higher number for the total, not reflecting the full state reimbursement and other funding offsets. So the actual piece of that green sliver should be about a third of the size it is. As you can tell, not super material to the overall story, but I just wanted to make sure that I illustrated that error on my part, so you know. So now take a deep breath, right? And then there's the red section, the sewer program. This is the largest factor in the projection, and it deserves careful explanation. The sewer costs in this model were developed using a revised comprehensive wastewater plan that's currently in process. And we know that most of you have not yet seen it. In conversations with Jay, myself, and the engineers at GHD, this reflects what we've assessed that the town could realistically accomplish between now and fiscal year 2050. This is not a wish list, it's a phased plan. The program currently runs through phase 7 by fiscal year 2050. Whether this full program is actually required is still being evaluated. There are active conversations about whether some phases can be modified or eliminated. If the scope is reduced, the red portion of the chart gets smaller. That would be a meaningful improvement to the outlook, if that were to happen. For perspective, the financing for most of the sewer work is through the Massachusetts Clean Water Trust. That is a state revolving loan program, and often it's at 2% interest or less. Some of ours is at 0%. That's dramatically cheaper. Sorry, and I forgot to say, it's with a approximate 5% borrowing forgiveness tacked onto my assumptions. That's dramatically cheaper than borrowing on the open market, where we pay close to 3.5% to 4%. The Massachusetts Clean Water Trust program makes it possible in a way that conventional financing would not. Important to note that future availability of Massachusetts Clean Water Trust borrowing is not guaranteed. So now I want to talk a little bit about the lines you see on this chart. At the top, you see gold lines, and it's a cone. So that cone represents what would be the 2.5 to 4.5% inflation cone for just the sewer portion of this illustration. So what does that mean? That means that, so I've taken the sewer numbers and I inflated them at 3% compounded annually, starting from the beginning, because they were quoted in $2025. So that's why it doesn't sit at the bottom of that line, because that line represents 2.5% inflation, right? The top line represents 4.5% inflation. So basically what I'm trying to illustrate to you here is if inflation goes crazy and we end up at 4.5% inflation, you're going to be closer to that gold line than you are where you are now, right? My assumption was 3%. I gave you a cone, 2.5 to 4.5, to say if inflation moves, you're going to be between there. So the green cone that's a little bit lower down, this one may not resonate with everybody the way that it did with me, but let me tell you my thinking on that one. So basically what I did is I said, if I take the fiscal year 27 level of debt service and I inflate just that number over the life of this project, if I say, you know, into perpetuity, we're going to carry in 2027 dollars, $6.1 million worth of debt service forward. That cone represents what that amount would be by 2050, right? So basically what I wanted to illustrate is if we tried to keep that level and kind of stay within a range of what we borrow, we would expect that that number would move to the upper bands of that, but this shows that the sewer takes it notably outside of that, right? It might not make sense to everybody, but it made sense to me. So what does this actually look like in numbers? The total excluded debt service in the projection goes from about 6.5 million in fiscal 27 to roughly 23 million in fiscal year 50. That is a significant increase, more than tripling over 23 years. And it's driven almost entirely by the sewer program. This is one of the most impactful financial decisions Harwich faces over the next generation. But as you look at the chart, I want you to keep two things in mind. First, this is a trajectory, not a year-by-year prediction. Individual years will look different, depending on actual borrowing decisions, interest rates, and project costs. Some years will be higher, some years will be lower. Second, the next slide puts this in terms of what this actually means for a Harwich household. So let's make this real. What does this mean for someone who owns a home in Harwich? Let me start with the projections here and discuss them relative to the past 24 years, because I think it provides the right framing. I project here that the average single-family tax bill will go from about $5,800 in fiscal year 26 to roughly $12,000 in fiscal year 50. A total increase of just over 100% and an annual average of about 3% per year over the next 24 years. For perspective, in fiscal year 2002, the average single-family tax bill was about $2,500 per year. As it says, in fiscal year 26, it was $5,800. That was a 135% increase at an average annual rate of about 3.6% per year. I also project that the average Harwich single home family value will go from $1 million to $2 million from fiscal year 26 to fiscal year 50. That represents a 103% increase at an average 3% per year, at a 3% per year average. Comparatively, in fiscal year 2002, it was about $280,000 to over $1 million in fiscal year 26. That was a 246% total increase at an average annual rate of 5.8%. My assumption of 3% is first and foremost the thought that the value growth could slow. So it is my effort to be conservative. At a conservative 3% appreciation rate, I am notably well below what Barnstable County has actually averaged over the past 25 years, which lines up more with where Harwich was at around 5%. Also of note, if home values do grow at a rate similar to that, or greater than the range that I have assumed, it would help the affordability issue, not hurt it. Let me close with what I most want this board and the community to take away from this. Number one, the last 25 years were manageable. The next 25 years are definitely harder, but they're not unmanageable. Excluded debt service grew at about 2.5% per year over the last 24 years. The projection ahead grows faster than that, driven by the sewer program. It's a step change, and this board should understand that clearly. Two, the sewer program is the single biggest variable in this entire analysis. There's been a commitment made in response to real state environmental mandates. The financing through the Clean Water Trust is favorable, and it gets the project, and it as favorable as it gets for a project of this scale, forgive me. But the scope is still being evaluated, and any reduction there would materially improve this picture. Three, the decisions this board makes in the next 3 to 5 years carry the most long-term weight. Every capital exclusion vote, every borrowing decision are consequential. Four, what you've seen tonight is a trajectory, not a precise forecast. Reality will have years that look better and years that look worse than what's on this chart. What the model tells you is the direction and the order of magnitude, and I believe that's the information you need to make good decisions. Five, the model will be updated as the revised comprehensive wastewater plan process completes, and as capital plans evolve, borrowing decisions are made, the numbers will change. My commitment is to keep working on this and bring it back to the board annually. I want to thank the board and the public for their time tonight. This presentation was built specifically because the board asked for a clearer long-term picture. I hope I have delivered on that. And there is appendix behind this document that states every assumption I have used. And I'm now ready for questions.
Questions from the board?
Less to do with questions, more to do with comments, and I would start off by saying thank you. This is exactly what we were looking for. It helps provide us with that tool that's necessary to plan for the future, right? And to the comments both of you made, but specifically you, Jen, these aren't hard and fast numbers. These aren't to be relied on as 100% accurate as we move forward, but it's that guide that we need to understand where the current debt is going, what's been approved but not yet borrowed, and then how we make decisions going forward, realizing that, this sewer project could, have a dramatic impact on folks that live in this community. I've said it a million times, I'll say it again. Every time we borrow money, it has an impact on a certain segment of this population here in Harwich. And for those folks who truly can't afford it are the folks that I'd like to go to bat for every now and then, because it truly becomes a decision on, what they do with their money, whether it's, repairing something at the home or buying medicines as opposed to something else. So I think this gives us a real clear picture of what it looks like going forward. Again, I think if this is a living document and you continue to update it annually, it's going to provide this board with a ton of insight and help shape some decisions as we move forward. And hopefully it helps shape decisions on town meeting floor and at the ballot box as well, right? It's a clear picture of what it is and what we can absorb comfortably as a community, and then really set the priorities, as because I think Dawn says it often. You have your wish list or your want list, and what do you need, what do you want, and this will really define needs over wishes, right? And so I think it's a tremendous tool, and I'll end by saying, out of those 5 finance directors in the room, my money's on you every time. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, Jen, thank you again as well. Just one quick question on the total tax impact column. That's on, I think it's number 3. It goes from 6,000 to 12,000 in 2050. Does that include general government expenses as well, or just sewer?
It does, so it's hard to see on that screen, but the second column is the levy portion, and then the third column is the excluded debt service impact. You add those together, you get your total.
Okay.
So yes.
I think a good way to look at it, one that helped me from not being a finance person, no finance director, is in the bottom part there where it says like, in FY 2037, with this contemplated, your tax bill would go up 2916. Of that 2916, only 1,100 of that is excluded debt due to the program, the sewer program and the additional. The rest of it's coming either way. You know, that's based on Proposition 2.5. So that 2,900 or further out, that 6,100, that is a majority of that is coming through general government increases.
No, I just wanted to say thank you very much for all your hard work. I think what you've done is given us a clear picture of where we're headed.
Thank you.
So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Jeff?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and, I echo everybody else's sentiments. I think this is something we desperately needed, and it for me, reading this, it just sparked a lot of questions. But to your point, a model is a model, a forecast is a forecast. They're inherently inaccurate as time goes on, right? I mean, the margin of error grows bigger,
Before they
tends
go.
to,
Yeah.
as the years go out. I don't know why I'm hung up on debt forgiveness and the 5%. Is that the number, is that 5% what you use to go through all the way to 2050?
I did, on inflated numbers, yes.
That was my next
On
question.
compound inflated
On
numbers.
compounded, not present cash value, but on
Correct.
inflated numbers.
Yes, so in the end, it's probably marginal.
Right.
And that changes that could increase if
Correct.
the demographic of Harwich changes over time. The Clean Water Trust could give us a higher percentage in debt forgiveness, and it could go the other way too, like pretty easily.
Correct.
Or it could go away completely. Like the debt forgiveness through the Clean Water Trust is only there when they have funding to authorize it, so it could go away completely.
And I hear that. In my mind, I'm trying to reconcile how big of a change that would make to the, and I know you can't answer that.
Marginal.
It's
Marginal,
marginal.
yeah.
You did just answer it a little bit ago, that it's marginal. That makes me feel a little more comfortable, because I know last town meeting, we were heavy on the Clean Water Fund and what we're getting back in forgiveness, and it's a big part of this, and that's why we've got to move this forward. But over the years, and over the cost of the whole project, it's marginal. Yeah.
And a lot of that principal forgiveness came through that bipartisan bill that was approved maybe 5 years ago. Once that funding's gone, who knows what
So,
happens.
so, Mr. Chair, one more if I could?
Sure.
In your opinion, or in your opinions, is I'm not gonna ask the question. I'm gonna pass. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm not gonna ask.
Well, I'm not going to pass on the opportunity to introduce a dark cloud and do a silver lining here, but partly, what you were saying, Jeff, is one of the reasons I was so big on advocating to do something last year, because when money is available, money's available, and this is not something that's lineal out into the future where they're guaranteeing. As a matter of fact, oddly, to interject politics into this, they were talking about an environmental bond issue, which oddly will borrow money, presumably at some interest rate, so that they can give it to us at 0% interest. I'm not quite sure the economics of that, but the folks in the state seem to think it works. But that's neither here nor there. You don't know whether it's actually going to happen or not. And if it does happen, you don't know who's going to get it. That's number one. Number two, a caution to everybody, because I saw this happen in the affordable housing realm 30 years ago. There were deed restrictions that were based on the median value of the home properties, not of the pay scales, the median incomes. And I put it out there that there is only a casual relationship between the asset value that you own and your ability and capacity to earn money. They're not the same, and while the housing may go up so that you're a millionaire in the housing, that doesn't necessarily mean anything if your whole household is working on, trades work, or,
House rich, cash poor.
yeah. So, I mean, I caution everybody about that, because I've heard people actually say that in derogatory terms about old-time residents here. Well, why don't they just move? They can sell their house. Well, you know what? They were here before you, and where are they gonna go? So I'm basically saying what Pete was saying. You have to be mindful of who you're working with here. Not everybody came armed with a 401k from Goldman Sachs near Boston. There's a lot of people who grew up here who are sitting in, through no fault of their own, are near millionaires, but the only way they become one is if they sell their house. So we have to be really mindful if there's available funds from the state, but at times that looks like fool's gold. Luckily, we are, Chatham aside, because they built their sewer system a while ago, so they don't have that same burden on their taxpayer. But a lot of the other communities are much further behind than us. So, I mean, part of the rationale for doing that last year was maybe we can ease up on the accelerator for a little bit, so we can ascertain where that money from the state is coming from, where the money from the county is coming from. Because that presupposes that tourists will never abandon us, and that will be an ever-increasing trough of money, which I'm not sure is a legitimate rationale, especially in a downturn. And especially since the government, the state government, doesn't have fixed assets. They tax people on a basis of income. So if there is a downturn, that happens really quick at the state level. So with that dour assessment, everybody's got to be a little concerned. I'm not concerned about the actual dollar values, as you said, because, I mean, I remember my dad bought our house for $9,000. That is not going to happen ever again, but everybody's house kind of floated upwards through the 30 or 40 years together. That didn't necessarily mean that the people inside the house were making that much more. So, again, as we look over the next 5 years, I'm really cautious about, we can only do, as Pete pointed out, what we need to do, not what we want or wish to do. So sometimes it sounds kind of cruel when we're assessing these things, but you have to be able, we're playing with house money. We're not playing with our own money. Martha.
Martha Donovan, East Harwich, Chair of Capital Outlay Committee. I just want to say thank you. When I first got here, you all know that I was on top of this, like how are we making decisions about, especially the sewer, without having numbers to look at. And I know all the assumptions that went into this and how hard it was to, put yourself out there. A lot of people before you didn't want to do that. But it's not about the numbers being right, or the assumptions being right. It's about the direction that we're headed and having information to make decisions. We just need to make, I always say I'm a numbers person. We need to make decisions based on numbers or projections, or at least think about how it's all going to impact us. And hopefully we figure out how to make this work in a way that works for everybody in Harwich. And so thank you for doing that. And I'm gonna get off my debt horse right now and stop talking about it, because I think we're paying attention to it, and that's all I've ever wanted for us to do. So thank you.
We're all rooting for technology to advance to the point where we're not looking at that line in the out years.
Well, this is Scott Norm from Pleasant Lake, and on the Finance Committee. Again, thank you so much. It's so great to have a dialogue and to see this started and to know it's going to be a living document. I did want to say something about sewers. It's the biggest variable. It's potentially not been updated in terms of the costs of all these phases going forward for a while by GHD or any other consultant. So I think it's important to get that input updated. There used to be a committee, from my research of the records, that it was a separate committee. I think it was called the Wastewater Support Group, and it had delegates from, what's that?
Wastewater Implementation Committee.
Implementation Committee. And it's actually mentioned in the original CWMP as something the town is going to do, and we did for a number of years. but I think it stopped after like 5 or 6 years. I think it's important to reestablish that committee, to have another window into how those costs are evolving, and actually for alternatives to sewers as well, which other towns in the Cape are exploring, and I think Harwich should explore as well. One of the costs that is not included in any of this analysis, as appropriately not included, is the cost for the homeowners that happen to be in the path of a sewer. They have to pay for their connection. And there are subsidies and low-interest loans, but they still have to pay. And that has never seemed fair to me, because the benefit is not for them, it's really for the whole town, the whole region actually, for the oceans and the ponds. And so I think there's both alternatives that might be less expensive to achieve the same nitrogen reduction goals that we're committed to. And also, I think there may be fairer ways to distribute the costs. I'd like to see the costs socialized more broadly. And I think if the costs could come down with alternative approaches, then whatever costs an individual homeowner who participates in the nitrogen reduction could receive a better subsidy, and perhaps even no cost at all to their individual family budget, because some of these alternatives could be as little as half the cost per kilogram of nitrogen removed. So I hope that that group is reestablished so that we can explore those alternatives more fully.
And not to burst your balloon, I was here when they used it. It wasn't what the headline suggested. It was about helping people hook up to the sewer system. They had no financial input whatsoever, and at the time, 2 town administrators ago, they were trivialized to the point of having no outlet to actually express anything. They were just there to populate a committee. If we were to do something as you suggest, it would have to be a completely different mentality to it. And you're right about the other stuff, but I would caution everybody to not believe that we've just been asleep at the switch here over the last 5 years. The fact is that GHD was brought in specifically because of CDM Smith wild assumptions. I know you've heard me say it's about $500 million that is lathered onto a fixed number of home units, which makes it really daunting in terms of the debt applying to them. But more importantly, as that time has elapsed, we've done a Coldbrook project, which is a non-sewer remediation project, and I expect with our good partners in the Conservation Trust, we may be able to see more activity like that naturally adjudicates the nitrogen rather than having to put a sewer in every household. Because outside of being able to stay by a switch and say, I'm going to press this as soon as the state releases some money, the only other really durable way of approaching this is to look into technologies that actually mitigate the cost to people. But again, Jen's not in a position to know any of that. She's just projecting based on now to then.
Mr. Chair?
Sure.
So my first iteration of this that I shared with Martha originally was based on the 2016 original CWMP. This iteration, which I scrapped everything, took the model back down to 0 and built back up, was from what GHD is working on as the revised CWMP.
Okay, good.
So this does include the new estimates of numbers as they exist today, but they're not finalized.
Yeah.
So it's, again, a living document that will need to be updated as those things become solidified and finalized, but this is the revised plan.
Right. Yeah, and besides the sort of wetland restoration projects that reduce nitrogen and get counted in our scorecard, there are other technologies that towns around us are exploring, such as source separation, which includes urine diversion as, I think, the most feasible option. It's socially tough to talk about, but it could be done for half the cost from the analysis that I've seen. But it's just taking advantage of that sewer bar to talk about alternatives.
And there's an elephant in the room, before I recognize anyone. When CDM Smith first put the plan together, we had 40 years to deal with. as a political paradigm, all of a sudden the state legislature and DEP thought it was a really cool idea to change the 40 to 22. That means that we're borrowing twice as much or twice as fast. So I think that everybody out there in the public should recognize that in addition to them being concerned here, the things that happen in Beacon Hill that other representatives are involved with really matter to their local taxes to the extent that they're not funding the mandate that they just made.
So I just wanted to chime in on the CWMP and what we use. So as Jen mentioned, we are working through revisions to the CWMP, which actually GHD is hoping to present to this board in early June. So we'll be able to provide the whole revised CWMP. There's a real question about whether or not, until we really figure out the game plan with what we would do with phase 4 regarding Dennis, it makes sense to actually consider it final until we have a direction on that. But for this work, you know, as Jen mentioned, we definitely used all the revised numbers that are in the revised the new numbers that are in the revised CWMP. You know, obviously we're not really sure how to manage those numbers because, you know, for 3A, GHD had 25 million, the bids came in at 11. You know, we're kind of all over the place on what their engineering cost estimates mean comparatively to the real bid market, being what we're seeing right now. But then on top of it, as you just referenced, Mr. Chair, like the state, you know, they wanted us to do 100% removal by 2050, you know, and 100% removal means that this is where it starts to get crazy to even have this conversation. 100% removal means we get through phase 9, you know. Well, the next question I asked GHD is if we had all the money and we were gonna print it tomorrow and, you know, could we physically do the remaining phases between now and 2050? And the answer is no. There's just not literally enough time. So so we contemplated going through phase 6 or through phase 7 in 2050, because even though the state wants us to get to 100%, if money wasn't an object, we still can't do it. So why would we do that? And then the last piece to the assumptions that we made regarding the CWMP is what are we gonna do with where are we gonna send the sewer? So with this, we contemplated dealing with Dennis, and we included a pretty large buy-in fee for the Dennis plant, and then also a component of recharge, the cost for recharge in Harwich to do that, to be able to handle phase 4. And that number was probably, I don't know, $60 million less than if we contemplated a plant in town. So if the Dennis conversation didn't work out, if we move forward with phase 4 and the Dennis conversation doesn't work out, there's another $60 to $70 million that's needed for a plant that's not contemplated here. So that's what I think it's like. We did our best to come up with assumptions that made like real sense, you know, but there's one variable in what we just talked about, and the whole thing's different.
I'm glad you brought that up because that is, at least in a preliminary way, I mean, everybody thought that when DHY fell apart that was the end of everything, and there isn't an earnest desire on the part of Dennis to have an honest conversation about what it looks like to have, you know, somebody buying capacity from them. And preliminary discussions have already happened, because I keep hearing from the public, so what's going on? Are you talking to anybody? Like, and the answer is yeah. It may not result in what we want it to result in, but we are talking, and it's collegial. I mean, it's nothing we're arguing with each other, so there's a real good prospect. And just so everybody knows, we've taken some of this stuff into account when we plugged in the pipes into Route 28. Originally, they were supposed to be pitched, which would send to a specific destination by gravity feed. They are now not that way at all. The pipes are going to go in flat, and they're going to be pressurized so that they can go in either direction depending on what those outcomes look like.
So we contemplated what we really think we could accomplish between now and 2050, and we contemplated sending it to Dennis and dealing with it that way.
You excuse me if I'm not part of the discussion in 2050.
We hope you are, Don.
It would only be doddering, if it isn't already. John?
Good evening, John Jory, Harwich Port, Gorham Road. Thank you very much. Is it Jen, Jennifer, or
Jen,
Ms.
which-
Ms.?
Jen,
Jen.
Jennifer, whichever.
Okay, yeah, Jen, if you
Thank
don't
you.
mind. Excellent presentation. As folks have said, Capital Outlay Committee said, the Board of Selectmen said, it's something that I've been asking for a number of years to get it. And you've done, I think, a very, very good pictorial representation, and it should be very sobering to a lot of people. You didn't number the pages, so if I can't refer to the page number.
You always got to bring something up. don't
Well,
you?
it's people don't number pages. It's
She-
the one
she was
before-
saving
it's
on
the one
ink,
before
John.
this one. You know, the big debt numbers. That one.
The one that has a 2 on it.
Yes. Oh, up there. But it's not two on my page. But anyway, this chart definitely shows a 25-year, what's going to happen. Maybe, maybe not. But it's, if you're into numbers, the capital outlay, if you're into numbers, this helps explain a lot. And your presentation tonight, questions, have answered some of my questions here. One, and capital outlay may want to pipe up on this one too, but on this chart, you show sewer capital being in there for the next 5 years. On the capital plan for this year, there's no sewer in there at all for the 5 years.
We have not been including sewers
Yes.
in the capital plan, much to the chagrin of a number of individuals, because I'm pretty sure we're not going to get it for free.
Yeah, but it shows on this chart the next 5 years for sewer costs to be in there. Anyway, that was the first, this observation. These are just my observations and stuff. Even if we don't do any more sewering whatsoever, we're looking at $10 million worth of debt service and interest for the next 25 years.
But inflation adjusted,
Right,
it's below inflation.
yeah, but it's still $10 million, right? I mean,
Understood.
if we've heard the cost on homes, the instant millionaires and stuff, that's still, we preach affordability. This is not affordability, in my opinion. Anyway, so it's, in my opinion, $10 million of debt service for the next 10 years, based on whatever dollar amount you want. Last question is a quick question. Is capital exclusion included anywhere in here? You know, the one-time debt service that we take on sometimes for projects.
I did not,
You didn't
I
put-
did not include that.
Okay, because sometimes those are pretty expensive in a given town meeting, $1 million, $2 million. We'll pay it off because we have extra free cash or whatever. I was just curious if it was in there or not.
My use of that purple section, the future capital section, was to kind of absorb like the what-ifs of all
But
of
it's
that.
okay. Okay, good. And then I saw the authorized debt. At first I didn't see it when I read this, but I saw it in there now.
The authorized unissued,
Yeah,
yes.
because I looked at the annual report that just came out for 25, and I saw the unissued debt at $70 million.
So-
But you've issued more since then.
Correct. We did an issuance in October.
That's what I thought, yeah.
Yep.
Thank you, again, excellent, I should, the debt people would love this, capital outlay probably loves it. I know Martha loves it, her and I we have discussions all the time, so
Yes.
thanks again.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And to Jay, I just want to put a plug in for Jay. He did this town meeting
Noted.
warrant article.
Noted. Thank you.
Town warrant article, that 20-page thing, that's excellent.
And what I want to put a plug into is the green section, which everybody needs to continue to watch. We have been talking about that for quite some time. You know, when people open up their bill in January and say, what the heck's going on here? Our bill just went up. That's the authorized but yet borrowed component. And for those folks out there, it doesn't happen in a month. It sometimes can be over a year, and by the time it hits, you already authorized it. So it's a self-inflicted wound. Think very carefully about what you really need when you go to town meeting. Thank you again.
You're welcome.
This was everything we had hoped. All right. So, new business.
Right, I think I can jump in on. Want me to go?
Yeah, sure.
All right, sounds good. So the item that we have under new business A is a request from both Stephanie and John, Harbor Master and Natural Resources, to hold 2 public hearings at our next meeting on May 11th, so just wanted to run it by the board, make sure they're okay with the public hearing moving forward. The first would be for a draft aquaculture license, and the second would be a public hearing for the addition of mooring assignment under the town's harbor management plan. So we were engaged by the Aquaculture Research Corporation, ARC. What they're looking to do, currently they lease a land-based upweller building near the Herring River, which is used for shellfish propagation. They operate one seasonal flupsy, which is a floating upweller system on the north side of the Herring River. From the water or land, a flupsy appears, it looks like a conventional dock out in the water, but it's an upweller for growing shellfish. So they're looking for the approval of 3 new flupsies on the south side of the Herring River. Currently, they operate the one on the north side. The Waterways Committee has voted on the additional request and had a favorable vote. So we're looking to move forward with a public hearing on May 11th to do both the draft aquaculture license and it's a change to the harbor management plan. So next steps after the board's action would be DMF would have to review, the Division of Marine Fisheries, and they've already indicated that they have no concerns with the site or proposed operation, as the flupsies do not interfere with wild shellfish or recreational commercial shellfishing. I had a conversation with Mark over the weekend. I think he's pretty familiar with this site, and both of the department heads are here tonight if they have any questions. But no votes tonight. As long as the board's comfortable with it, we'll move forward with the public hearing process on May 11th.
How do you guys feel?
I think this couldn't be a better location. It's out of the way of any boats, out of the way of any swimmers, and it's economic development for the town.
All right, for the time being, we're only talking about the process. You feel okay with the process you described?
Yep.
Looking forward to it, Mr. Chair, thank you.
Great.
And I'd like to thank Stephanie and John for teaching me what a flupsy was. Good job.
All right. So we can skip B because Mark's going to pay for the,
Mr. Chair, I move that Mr. Kelleher pay for the fee waiver request. Mr. Chair, I move that we approve a fee waiver request from the Harwich Garden Club for a plant sale on March 23rd, 2026 at Doan Park.
Second.
it's moved and seconded. I might point out, it's a really small footprint, so, and it's something that the town's been doing for years. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve a special permit application for Harwich Chamber of Commerce for Port Summer Nights, events to be held on Wednesday nights in July and August from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. to be held around Harwich for bands to be placed at Harwich Chamber member businesses or organizations.
Second.
It's moved and seconded to approve the application for the music events on Wednesdays. And I see Cindy's there with her artistic filter.
Good evening, all.
Any questions for Cindy? All right. You know my feelings on this, Cindy. You always leave them wanting more. So hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you for showing up.
Thank you. I'm sorry you can't be there in finishing up the magazine.
Yeah, well, you can't get anything better than an approval. So don't worry.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
I move we approve a special permit application for Harwich Chamber of Commerce Charitable Foundation for a road race to be held on June 20th, 2026 from 7:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. Event to be held at 1 Schoolhouse Road.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the special permit for the Harwich Chamber for Charitable Foundation for the road race. You have anything to say about that, Cindy?
This is our 15th annual. It's all this year condensed right in the parking lot. It will start and end there. It's another great way for us to raise awareness for the health and wellness of the youth of Harwich.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous.
Mr. Chair, I move we approve a special permit.
Thank you all. Good night.
Sorry.
You'll forgive us if we keep going.
Mr. Chair, I move we approve a special permit application for Cape Farm Supply for one-day entertainment to be held on June 27th, 2026, from 3 PM to 11 PM, event to be held at 1590 Factory Road.
Well, hell, I'll second it. That's the traditional Leo Kukunis request. Any further discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous.
Mr. Chair, I move we approve a 2026 seasonal lodging house renewal application for Gingerbread House, B&B, 141 Division Street.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded for seasonal lodging house renewal application for Gingerbread House. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous.
Mr. Chair, I move we approve a new common victualler application for Navu Corporation, DBA Subway, 1 Austin Road.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve a new common Vittler application.
We'll always disagree on that. I'm
Yes, we
sorry.
will. Well, when they start calling it Worcester, then we can call this victualler. Yeah, apparently Tom, who's owned that for the last 20 years, I guess, is moving on. It's kind of sad to see, but it's a new application. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous. Well, we said long ago that we were going to get to the point of appointing people. The Labor Council was dispatched to do a special one-off project for us, and they did quite a good job, actually, with what they're doing. And since it involves personnel, I can't get too deeply involved in exactly what the particulars were of that, but we thought it would be an appropriate moment to actually come back and these are not contract awards, they're designations, because under 30B contracts, they are exempt from competition should we elect not to do that, go out on bid. So everybody came in, did their presentations. I mean, I know where I'm coming from, but let's have a discussion about where we want to go. Let's start with Jay.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I've had the opportunity over the last 6 weeks, and honestly, even before I started, working with Jamie Kenny and her Clifford and Kenny labor attorneys, and I can tell you I've been thoroughly impressed with the work, the responsiveness, the professionalism, the attention to detail. I think as far as labor work goes, we've navigated a few complicated situations over the last 6 weeks, and Jamie and her firm have done a tremendous job helping to navigate that for the town. We brought her on as special counsel to help with a couple complicated issues, and she's continued to provide me guidance over the last few weeks once those problems were resolved. So I would wholeheartedly recommend to the board that you move to appoint Jamie's firm, Clifford Kenny, as labor counsel for the next year. I think the process that you've discussed, Mr. Chair, of doing this annually and having this conversation annually is extremely beneficial to the town and to administration. And I don't say it lightly, because I think KP's done a decent job with labor counsel over the last few years, but Jamie's firm has really gone above and beyond and stood out in what she's provided.
Two things, and I'm going to open it up for comments from the rest of the board. The first is that whoever general counsel is in a position to jump in to labor issues also, so it's not preclusive. And secondarily, what I personally think is the most beneficial part about this isn't whether they scored great on a special project. It's came up during the interviews for the assistant town administrator, to get involved with discussions and with workshops with senior managers to the point where we proactively avoid having labor disputes that get litigated is huge to me. Through the years, we've gotten to a tipping point. We've messed up. We wound up getting into litigation or into arbitration. And to the extent that these folks are really geared up towards giving us, training so that they work on what you should be looking at and what you should be doing in reaction to it before it becomes a problem is huge to me.
I agree, and so to the specifics of that is, Jamie's done two things for us recently. Is one is offered leadership training that we'd be able to utilize with department heads and subordinates to help to move into those roles, and then investigation training as well for Angelique and the HR department. Like, those are things that KP doesn't offer, that we've not been able to secure with them. It's just not part of their business plan, but Jamie's got a different approach in the way that she looks at this. And in my previous role, I had the opportunity to work with Jamie on just that, just the leadership training aspect of it, where we brought in Jamie's group to do that for a large number of department heads, and they do a great job. And if it's a proactive way to help with labor issues, I think it's worthwhile.
So I guess at the end of this, so I can open it up for the rest of the board, you were recommending that we...
I'm recommending wholeheartedly that we move forward with Jamie's firm for labor for the next year.
Discussion.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
motion to appoint Clifford and Kenny as the Town of Harwich Labor Council for the next year.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Discussion.
I'll just state, listening to Jay over the past few weeks, and his interaction with them has gone a long way with me. So, I was impressed with them when they came before us a few months ago, and I'm more than comfortable moving forward with them in this capacity. So I look forward to working with them and seeing what other benefits they can bring to the town and the employees, so, as outlined by Jay. So I look forward to it.
Okay, it's moved and seconded to appoint them. So if there's no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous. Now, we have to designate general counsel. And, both of them presented well, but the interesting thing, and you can go get into your recommendation, because I know that you dealt with Greg Corbo. For those people who aren't familiar with KP law, it's kind of a loosely organized confederacy, because you buy into practices there, and we are, so you're not getting KP law in whoever they send you. The team that we're working with right now is actually quite different than the team that we were working with a year ago. We do have a couple of their better people who have been retained on that. But they also have been given a kind of test situation, which is yet to play out. But so far, at least, I've had good relations with Greg in making him understand that we want something that gives us legal options. We don't want them giving us policy advice, and that has worked out pretty well.
So, yeah, Mr. Chair, as far as general counsel goes, I understand the anxiety that the board's had and the town of Harwich has had regarding KP. It is definitely, I understand it. I'll just leave it at that. But I can tell you that in the last number of years, and in just the 6 weeks that I've worked here in Harwich, the team that we have in place with KP right now, that's anchored by Greg Corbo, who you met at the interview, along with Amy Kressel and Michelle Randazzo, is, I think, their top-notch team. It doesn't get any better in KP law. Greg is not only a bulldog litigator, which he definitely is, but he's extremely understanding. He listens, and he's responsive. And each one of you has reached out to me over the last 6 weeks with some complicated situation that involves talking to counsel and to try to get information regarding that. And Greg is the type of guy that I can text him and say, hey, I need to talk. And, it may not be I can call you immediately, but I can guarantee that by noon I'm going to get an answer on what I need to know. And that relationship is worth a lot. So that said, I understand the anxiety around KP, and what I would ask the board is to give it, with this new team, with the Greg, Amy, Michelle team, another year, and then we can have a conversation in a year from now. And if it hasn't worked the way that I'm hoping that it will, I'm open to change. I'm certainly not married to KP. I just, at this point in time, being new to this role, he's one of the tools in my toolbox, and I wouldn't want to lose that. I think is an asset. There's value to the town in having that tool in place.
Two things that I've noted for the board's edification is that on at least one occasion, he came back and said, I don't think you need me involved in this, which is a definite different conversation than we've had in the past with legal counsel, that we can't even leave the office without permission somehow. Just to be a little snarky. But the other thing is that Greg's core competency as an individual is in liquor licenses. And
Yeah,
I think
he's a guru.
that needs to be stated, because he's really good at that area.
And when I talked with Jamie about Greg, her initial take is, I work with Greg in a lot of different towns. That's a rock star team, you know, and that's from another law firm, you know, so.
I'm open to the board if they've got alternate realities they want to talk about, Pete.
I'll start with the motion. Mr. Chair, I move to appoint KP Law as general counsel for the town of Harwich for the next year.
Second.
So,
Go ahead.
so, and unfortunately, I was just trying to dig through my paperwork and I couldn't find it, but we had another firm before us, and if someone could help me with their name, I'd appreciate it. But nonetheless, I was actually very impressed by that group. And so, you know, I put a lot of value in what Jay brings forward, you know, with his relationship with the folks at KP Law right now. I haven't been overly impressed with them historically. And so, you know, to me, it's not an easy decision to disregard the other group. However, I do agree with the value that Jay outlined in his existing relationship with the folks at KP Law. And I'm hopeful that relationship and some of the players that are now involved with the town of Harwich pays dividends. However, as I said, I was extremely impressed by that other crew, and I'm really
Harrison Heap.
Harrison
Heap.
Yeah, so I appreciated their presentation. I appreciated their approach. Almost their size and structure, I think, would work well for the town of Harwich. But again, with that said, I'm comfortable moving forward for the next year with KP Law and see where we land.
Yeah, and I would agree with you. This is not a statement of their inadequacy. This is really a statement of going with someone that Jay works with and is doing a decent job. Some further comments?
I'll just say, you know, Jay, you're building your team, and I support you in the building of your team. And you're the one who's gonna work with council and all the other people that you know, choose for your team for the town of Harwich, and that's what I don't take lightly. And to Pete's point, I'm 100% in agreement with Pete and with Don. But at the end of the day, it's your team, and I support you in picking your team.
Thank you. I think at the end of the day, like, it's when you guys come to me with issues, I need to be able to get responses. And I'm hesitant to go with a group at this point that I don't have that relationship with, because I want to be able to respond, you know, and get you the info that you need, so.
No, the only thing, I do have reservations about KP Law. However, I trust your judgment, and I will agree with what Mr. Handler said, that, you know, you're building your team.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And like,
That's the direction I feel we need to go.
thank you, Anita. And if it wasn't, if Greg hadn't been part of the package, I think I'd feel differently. But you know, we sued the governor last year together, and as far as I can tell, we won, you know? So I think he gets a couple years in my book to be on my team, you know?
We can always call Legal Zoom later if we need. And you can call me Mr. Howell. That's also been.
Quiet down, Mr. Chandler.
Yes, thank you.
For a number of years,
I am so sorry.
for a number of years, I was Larry, so.
Moving on.
Yeah. Mark, anything?
No, just the three members from KP, each one individually just impresses me a lot. Randazzo on the open meeting, Corbu with his liquor law, but he also knows about maritime law, I believe. And I'm forgetting, what's the third, Amy
Michelle.
Quest.
And Amy.
I see her at the ZBA hearings. It's a stellar team, so.
They were both on vacation last week, and they both talked to me like 5 times, so.
And to bolster what,
Twice the rate, I believe.
Yeah, probably. We get the bill. Keep an eye on that bill.
and to bolster what Anita was saying, things were not all smooth. I mean, in terms of personnel things, there was a real lack of support on the labor side with KP Law. I think we're making the right decisions in
We
both
will
of these.
resolve that.
There were some complaints too, and not just from the clerk's office, but from other places where I felt like they had profoundly let us down. So we're getting the best part of their organization. And if they're watching, Brian is a new team member. The jury's out on how good he or bad he is in terms of what he does with Labor Council, but still, it sends a good message that, you know what, we're looking at this and we're going to pick what's best for us and for the administration to work with.
Mr. Chair, one more thing if I could. I don't want this board to lose sight of paying attention to the monthly invoices that we're getting.
Yeah, thank you.
This is a nice exercise with a, new TA, new group, but at the end of the day, it comes down to the dollars that we spend and whether or not this board feels it's appropriate for the work that we're doing for the town of Harwich. So I don't want to lose sight of that. Jay, I know those, Natasha and Jen will keep forwarding us those invoices every 3 months. I think that's great. I look forward to them, actually, and that's kind of odd to say, but I think this board needs to stay on top of it.
And that's kind of what I was trying to say earlier, with they proactively give us scenarios where we're equipped to deal with things on our own.
Sure.
That we don't pay if they're not being utilized in certain areas. We had gotten to the point where somewhat atrophied over the last few years, where it was like, it didn't matter what the discussion was. Let's call KP Law and see if we can do that. At the end of the day, people pay us and elect us to do these things in a professional way, and we don't always need to be able to lean on somebody to make those decisions. The buck stops here in a lot of those.
And along the lines of what was just being discussed, I believe KP outlined, or didn't outline, but discussed their monthly budgeting plan as well, right? So they didn't present it to us, but they said that they offer it. So perhaps it's something we want to explore in the short term to see if it might be of use for the town of Harwich to, potentially save some money in the long term, so.
I'd be happy to look into
Yeah,
that.
after we vote on that, if you wouldn't mind reaching out to them and say
Absolutely.
that's an appealing thought. What does it look like?
Yeah. The retainer piece,
Right,
basically.
right.
Yeah.
And what do we get,
Yeah, what do we
in
get?
return?
I
Right.
utilized that last year.
Yeah.
The retainer.
Yeah, so let's take a look at that.
Okay.
And that would help in your scenario.
Yeah, and one more through you. Could we make sure that Clifford and Kenny understands what we're looking for from them? Now we're bifurcated here. We've got two, and it would be great to have them give us the same information that we're getting from KP Law monthly,
Yeah, okay.
okay?
I think they presented a flat fee-based proposal. I think that's probably similar to the retainer. I mean, we'll be able to get that. They'll give us that same level of detail, but I assume we want to go with their flat fee. It seems like the cheapest.
I think Mr. Handler, I could be wrong, Mr. Chandler wanted the invoice breakdown that we received from KP.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna live that down somewhere.
But what I'm saying with Clifford and Kenny is they offer a flat, like a retainer-based structure. So we'd still get the detail
Yeah.
of what that is, but we won't have to pay per call.
Right, yeah, but as long as we get the detail, right?
Yeah.
The detail, who called?
Yeah.
Right.
And that, the easy thing about and I'll get that for sure.
Thank you.
The easy thing regarding is labor is it's Angelique and I.
Yeah.
That's it. So it'll be a lot smoother than the general counsel side.
And to tie this into a bundle, because the invoices, absent anything else, is about what they're billing us for what we ask them. But there is an important component that regardless of who the chair is next year, we have changed the mechanism with KP Law. It's not just the invoices that they're giving us. They are sending through the chair and the town administrator responses to inquiries, because I had found that despite the policy that we had about you have to go through town administrator to get there, we weren't seeing all of the requests that were happening. So Well, they translate in the invoices, but I'd like to know who's using them, especially on staff, and how often, and maybe there's something that we could figure out to try to ameliorate that. But they work together. Who's using them, how much, for how much money? So with that, we have a motion to appoint them as council in accordance with the charter. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous. Okay, you're on, Jay.
All right. Do I get the clicker this time?
Oh, here.
Just have a brief presentation. I'm proposing to the board to create a position of a part-time grant writer communication coordinator to be structured in my office and to support administration. Part-time position, 24 hours a week, through the personnel bylaw, funded through my budget. And so I put together just a brief presentation on the benefits of that. Ultimately, the overall benefit is it's a role designed to strengthen how we communicate with residents and how we pursue outside funding opportunities across all of our departments. Most importantly, looking for infrastructure grants as it relates to new mass works, funding opportunities around like the North Harwich traffic study, the Allens Harbor jetty, things like that. How do we fund these larger infrastructure projects through potential grants? And then on top of that, how we communicate with residents. So it's a unique role, but other communities have had success in finding one person that can kind of help you with both, because it really comes down to how people write and communicate, and that has similar aspects. So the position, why is the position needed now? You know, as you know, expectations on local government have changed dramatically. Residents clearly, and I think this, as you heard from the podium a little bit ago, residents in Harwich are extremely ripe for communication. They want communication, they want it timely, and they want it accurate, and they want it across multiple platforms. At the same time, departments are facing increasing demands for pressure on funding. You know, we look at the excluded debt presentation, and you know, one way to impact that is potential grant opportunities as it relates to these infrastructure projects that we have coming over time. You know, when we're looking at excluded debt, we're talking about fire trucks, ambulances, and pavement management projects, and these are all, you know, outside of the current economic status in our country right now, and whether or not some of these things are funded through grants moving forward. Historically, they have been through the AFG grant, through MassWorks, through federal programs to help with infrastructure. Historically, they have been funded. So I know we're in a tight spot right now with federal funding as it relates to that, but you know, there's still money available to help with these competing demands that we have. So right now, we simply don't have the capacity to meet the needs and do it consistently. Like, I'm doing my best to be able to put the newsletter out. I'm trying to get the May newsletter out by the end of this week. I haven't even started it yet, you know, so to be timely and to be consistent, I have competing demands of my time. So I'm looking to have somebody part-time help me with that. So what will the role deliver? The role provides a unified communication strategy, so we're looking for somebody to come in and not just put out posts on Facebook. You know, be able to come up with a communication strategy that helps with public engagement and expanded grant writing capacity. Now, like right now, we have in the job description for the cultural director that there's some grant writing responsibilities, but that's focused on certain grants as it relates to her role, and I'm looking for more broader reach across departments as it relates to grant opportunities. This will ensure that social media, the newsletter, all the public materials that we put out are accurate, accessible, and professionally managed. How they look. Like, one of the things that I'm most proud of with the Citizens Guide that we put together is the way that it looks. It looks professionally done. It doesn't look like something that we did in Microsoft Word and printed in the office, you know? So that's the type of work that I'm looking for, and I'm looking to have somebody help with that. So most importantly, this position would support every department. It supports administration, it supports the select board, and it helps us improve the information that we share with the community. I put a note on here, and this is a mistake we had in the slide. One thing it's not going to do is manage the website. Now, what it would do would help to the information that we put out on the website But how we manage the website is another conversation that we need to have at a different time. Like, this would not do that. That's another obstacle that I need to figure out how to get through is the website. But this position would help us with the content that we put on the website. So the digital communication aspect of it, it will take ownership of the digital presence. I mean, obviously, whether you love it or hate it, social media is a huge thing in our world right now, and it's how a lot of people get their information. So this will help us with communicating that across the different platforms. The newsletter is, like I said, I don't want to make light of it. It is an absolute tool to the community, and it will grow over time. It will only grow with how much we can put into it, though. And this is a position that would help us with that. We're working on different videos to put out. Jamie does a great job with that, and I think there's some cross-contamination with how Jamie can help with this role to be able to really get, on the video side of things, the best message out to the town of Harwich, and across different forms of communication. It also means creating graphics so that our communication, like I said, like with the Citizens Guide, everything looks good, everything looks consistent. Our photos are high quality. Materials that we put out help us communicate clearly and consistency. And also to ensure compliance, I've had lots of conversations with Emily about how do we deal with public records as it relates to social media and social media policy. And as much as Emily and I have talked about it like 10 times, we both are like pretty busy. So like having somebody that can say like, here, this person's gonna help actually put this together so that like the decision makers can help us create what works for social media archiving and policy, because that's all public record. And then there's the grant writing responsibilities, which, as I said, the main focus of this as it relates to grant funding and grant writing would be to help departments identify opportunities, prepare applications, develop budgets, and then ultimately manage the grants we receive. They'll help us prepare presentations for town meetings to this board, help us receive federal, state, and private funding. I think private funding is something that's, given the current economic situation with the federal government as it relates to grants, there's opportunities here with the Cape Cod Foundation, the Harwich Foundation. This person can help us be a conduit to those opportunities, because where there's continued funding locally, but I want to make it clear, and these are like a conversation I had with Pete earlier today, what we're not looking to do here is to create grant opportunities to hire staff to do things. This is purely infrastructure. Like, we're looking to be able to secure grants to deal with infrastructure challenges we have as it relates to the capital projects and the capital plan we have. Not to hire people that we have to figure out how to fund in the budget in the future. Definitely not the approach that we're looking to take. So examples of grants are the FEMA AFG grant, MVP action grants, Mass Trails, the park grant. Those are projects that could help us with like the Brooks Park improvements that we're doing right now. There's a park grant that could have helped us with that. That's not impossible to get. It's still funded locally in Massachusetts. Things like that are the type of grants we're talking about. The Seaport Economic Council grants, as I mentioned, the Cape Cod Foundation, the Harwich Foundation, underutilized opportunities that I'd like to pursue further with this part-time communication grant writer position. Ultimately, I think, the communication, I think since the first day I met you, I think I made it clear that communication to me is a big part of what I do. And, there's a public trust that happens. Like I was driving around town today dropping off the Citizens Guide, and people are like, there's a buzz about the communication and what happens with that. So furthering that conversation, increased public trust, increased competitiveness for grant funding, and reduce misinformation and confusion, I think would help. I know, like, Mark, you've talked a handful of times about emulating what Chatham does with that department review on a monthly basis. Well, this will give me an employee to say, here, this is what Mark wants to see every month. Can you just go do this? It's very easy to put together when you have somebody that can focus on the small things like that. So better support to the select board at the end of the day. So like I said, it's a personnel bylaw, 24 hours per week. We graded it in that $41 to $51.95 range. It'll be paid for out of the current budget that we have in place through the wage adjustment line. And I believe we'll have a large return on our investment. You know, that's really the end of it. I mean, if we got a MassWorks grant to do the intersection over at 124 and Queen Anne, that would pay for this position for like 6 years. I mean, it's a very not heavy funded position, and it will help us with professional communication. So I'm recommending that the board move forward with the part-time position of grant writer, communication coordinator for the town of Harwich, and if you're satisfied with that, I'll post the job tomorrow.
Questions? I have one. This fits under my age-old category of when everybody's responsible for everything, nobody's responsible for anything. Who does this person report to?
Oh, me, in my office.
I just want to make that clear, because we've had experiences where
In
it
my
was
experience-
ill-defined and people were out there and were not sure what they were even doing.
This person will work in the office, in the administration office, and I think my experience with, and I had this position in the administration office in my previous job, and I think the synergy of having the grant writer work directly with the town manager is pretty important, because I can clearly identify what they're working on a day-to-day basis. Like, the grant writer that I worked with would come in and say, here's what I'm working on right now, here's some ideas, here's some other opportunities, what are your thoughts, what do you want me to focus on? And that's it, you know, and there's no third party involved. It's, well, that one makes sense, this one doesn't, you know, and it's pretty straightforward.
That was my question.
Go ahead. Yeah, are benefits included in this job?
They would be for right now. I think because it's a part-time job, and, you know, when you really look at like 24 hours per week, there's not a lot of annual salary there. So I want to include benefits at the moment. If we have success getting somebody and they don't need benefits, obviously that would be a plus, but I think it's hard to recruit from a qualified person. You're talking about somebody that, you know, has pretty specific skill sets. So we need to recruit that person.
And you have bandwidth in your administration budget to cover this?
Correct.
Jeff?
Yeah, thank you, and back to my point earlier, you're building your team. I support you building your team. You know what you need. I was really happy to hear you at the very end speak about Route 124 and Queen Anne Road. You know, with Pine Oaks and Penrose, there's a lot of money for infrastructure for affordable housing. And this would be one of the first things I would like to talk to you about. This person gets on board to begin to explore.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, thank you.
And we have had discussions about that. There's been discussions with VHB already about what state of funding is available that goes along with the affordable housing. It's a good point.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
No, Mark covered my question, which I appreciate, and I appreciated my conversation with Jay earlier. I think my all-cap text response of, are they gonna hire more people, was addressed, so I appreciate that. Again, grants always scare me when we put something in place that then needs to be sustained by the operating budget 2 or 3 years down the road. The focus on infrastructure is to me, the appropriate way to go, and therefore is going to impact our operating budget in a negative way, only in a positive way down the road. So I support this endeavor, so thank you.
The only thing that I was gonna, thank you, Mr. Chair, the only thing I was thinking logistically is, where is this person going to be? And you answered, you answered my question, and that makes more sense to me, because in that way, the two of you would really work together if you're in the same room for that period of time. But I was thinking logistically, where would this person be? Would they be in a different building? Would they be, so thank you very much for explaining that. That would be the only question I had.
Thank you.
And I full and wholeheartedly support it.
And to Pete's point, free money isn't free forever.
Right.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's an opiate.
Hopefully this person can help us soften her presentation.
Okay, so is motion on the floor? Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous.
All right, thank you. All right, next one is the vote to affirm the Assistant Town Administrator. So I'm pleased to recommend Jim Mulcahy for the appointment as Assistant Town Administrator and request the board's ratification. Jim was the unanimous choice of the 5-member search committee, which included Chair Howell, Chief Dave LeBlanc, Angelique McGibbon, Jen Mintz, and myself. We interviewed a competitive field which included 29 candidates for the position, and Jim clearly distinguished himself through both his municipal experience and his leadership background. Jim currently serves as the assistant to the town manager in Middleborough, where he helps oversee a $131 million operating capital structure. His responsibilities include advising the select board on governance, statutory compliance, supporting budget development, and long-range financial planning, along with overseeing procurement of both 30B, 149, and 3039, and managing major capital infrastructure projects. Notably, he worked closely with me on a $33 million PFAS water treatment plant, demonstrating ability to manage complex multi-year initiatives. Before entering municipal administration, Jim spent more than 2 decades in public education, including 10 years as a Cape Cod high school principal. Prior to that, he was involved in a regional school district where he was the principal at Silver Lake. He led large organizations, managed structured budgets, oversaw capital improvements, and guided the Sandwich High School through COVID-19 without losing instructional days. His leadership style is described in his cover letter, and from my experience working with him, as strategic, visible, communicative, and grounded in culture and team building. I've worked with Jim in a number of different capacities over the past 8 or 9 years and hold him in very high regard. I've not only worked with him in Middleborough as my assistant over the last 1.5 years or 2 years. He was the stormwater coordinator when he first came to Middleborough. But I also, when I was the facilities director in Sandwich, he was the principal at the high school, so I worked with him in that capacity as well, more in a peer relationship in that role. His combination of municipal executive experience and operational discipline and proven leadership make our team, our group, our search committee believe that he's the right person to help lead Harwich through the next chapter. And I respectfully request the board's ratification of his appointment.
Okay, one thing that I did want to make a point of, because we had this discussion, but moving forward on any of these, because we had this peculiar discussion with our past administration, the charter calls for us to confirm or affirm, depending on which way you want to look at it. You need to get acquiescence from at least 3 members of the board from certain positions, including this one. I had for years said, as opposed to whom, because the charter has that provision specifically so that each board member can make an informed decision as to what they think in their minds is appropriate for action. I'm committed from here on in to making sure that in Dropbox, not necessarily in an email, but in Dropbox, that we put a password-protected folder so that we do, without having to get in a car and drive to town hall, get the information on who it is that were the finalists and what their credentials were so that we could make an informed decision. I don't want to bring down the tenor of the room because all 4 of the people we interviewed at the end, I could have seen sitting in the chair helping you, and I believe you felt the same way.
Absolutely.
This is more about moving forward as a bond of trust so that if the charter says you need 3 out of 5 votes, then we need the information other than just the person's name and their resume moving forward. I'm not criticizing this. I'm just saying as a marker that hasn't happened.
Yeah, no problem. And we did, so last week we did set that up in Dropbox so that 4 finalists were available for the board to view. And I think that precedent, I'm totally comfortable with that precedent moving forward.
Yeah, I just wanted the public to hear that.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate that. And I think it's important that we do it the way that we did it last week, where they're set up, because it's a confidential process, outside of us. So I set that up last week, and I'll continue to do that moving forward for all those department head positions.
Yeah, and the reason I brought it up, I don't want to belabor it, but the reason I brought it up is 2 town administrators ago, they had the audacity to say, well, how do we know that you're not going to go to the supermarket and start blabbing to people about who it was that you saw? And I'm like, the same way when we're dealing with labor negotiations or anything else that's sensitive, that's password protected and executive session warranted, that we're not going to spill the beans on that in the public either. We're adults, we're elected to actually govern, and we can't do it unless we know what we're doing, or what the decision-making is. So I just wanted the public to hear that we're back again so that we get the information that we need to make an informed decision.
I'm committed to continuing to do that.
Okay, so,
Mr. Chair,
yes, sir.
please do not categorize me as an adult. Motion to affirm the town administrator's recommendation of hiring Jim Mulcahy as the assistant town administrator for the town of Harwich.
Second.
Subject to successful negotiations?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Subject to successful negotiations.
So moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
Yeah, right here.
ahead.
Jay, I like the educational background of this candidate. I think he could help us a lot in our negotiations with Monomoy. And also, my own personal feeling, I always feel the regional school is almost like a separate entity. We pay 80% of the cost. I could see him as trying to help us be more of the community, like maybe get volunteers from the school. So I think he's got two strong points to help. The other thing is with all our capital projects coming up, the harbor, public works, I've heard the word value engineering. I think this is a type of person who could be very helpful in perhaps looking at projects and thinking of different ways of doing it. So I think this is a guy that has some great qualifications in many different facets. So I think it's a great choice. So.
Again, before we take the vote, I just want to underscore, this was not about an inadequacy from any other candidate, because any one of the four that made it to the finals, I could have seen being a positive contributor to an asset to the town. So with that, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I'm going to take a slightly different tact on the discussion of annual town meeting warrant and articles therein. In the past,
Just wanted to know, sorry to interrupt you. Didn't know if we wanted to jump to contract, that these folks are here waiting for that. I'm not sure.
okay, sure.
We can take that out of order, contracts.
Shall I read that, Mr. Chair?
Make
Mr. Chair, I move
make a
we
motion.
vote to approve and authorize the chair to sign an intermunicipal agreement with Barnstable County to dredge the approach and entrance channel of Saquatucket Harbor, contract not to exceed $270,000, $270 and $280.
Second.
It's moved and seconded to approve intermunicipal agreement with Barnstable County not to exceed $270,280.
So this money's in the budget and fully funded for this year. This is an annual agreement that the board signs with Barnstable County for Saquatucket Harbor. We'll have another agreement for Allen Harbor in front of you in another couple weeks here as well. This needs to be executed timely so that we can get them in to get the work done.
I think we're good, John. Unless you, my dad used to have a comment, it's always the last turn of the screw that snaps the head off, which had to do with, leave it alone. Everything will be fine.
John and I talked today about this quite a bit.
Okay, unless there are specific questions for John.
Not for John, but I do have one question. So I think you said the 272, 280 is available in the budget. Do we know what was allocated in the budget?
That I don't know.
I almost had to go on.
Waited this long, why not get your voice, right?
No,
That's right.
good evening, John Harker, Harbor Master. So we're, in the operating budget, we're allocated 400,000. This is at the high end of the survey amount. So we still have Allen Harbor to do. That survey should be done next week.
Okay.
But we are at the 400,000 in the operating budget, and again, that's why we're moving out of the operating budget, hopefully this year and into article to not be as
Confined.
captured and confined.
Yeah.
Because we just don't know with dredging year to year.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay. Motion's been made to approve the intermunicipal agreement with Barnstable County. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous. Getting back to the old business, this is only their I'm here long enough to know that this was a trap at times going into town meeting. There have been prior town meetings where if, Jeff, you were against a particular article, we were going to assign you to advocate on behalf of it, which we're all adults. We all got elected equally. As far as I'm concerned, I want you to play off your strengths, not off of punishment. So what I'd like to see happen is you pick out like 15 articles that you want to do and get back to us, by the end of the week, so that if the occasion arises, and I warn everybody, the old showbiz thing, you always leave them wanting more, really does count at town meeting. You don't necessarily have to speak, but if somebody is needed to speak on behalf from the board, I'd like to get your inclinations about what you folks actually are passionate about so that we can set it up that way.
Sure.
Does that sound okay?
Sounds spectacular. The only thing I'll note is that it does not preclude anyone from addressing a particular item on town meeting floor if they so choose.
No, and I've always advocated that. We
Correct.
all get elected, and it's not like we can put a
Yep.
muzzle on anybody if they
Yep.
don't want to agree with the prevailing wisdom,
Correct.
so,
Yep.
sure.
Mr. Chair, just a quick question.
Yep.
Would it be to explain your individual vote for something? Would that be it? There was a couple of votes.
Pete's the alternative. I mean, what I'm looking for is 15 articles that you want to carry on your back towards a positive vote
Just speak affirmatively.
on behalf of the board.
Okay.
What Pete's talking about, and it's a perfectly legitimate comment, and I have always done this myself, is that, you know what? Maybe you don't feel that passionate about the board's prevailing position, and you'd like to make a comment at town meeting. Everybody has that right. They're an elected official, and the public has the right to hear the variety of opinions. So, yes, I would encourage you guys, to get up and speak if you really feel passionate about something and you think the argument needs to be made. So, if you could just, I think it would be easier to send it to administration. John, is that okay with you?
Yeah, you
And
can
then
send
we'll
it to
just
us.
correlate that.
You could just send it to us, let us know.
Mhm. All right, no votes. It's just, that was all I really wanted out of that.
So we did set a meeting for 5 PM next Monday night so that we can move on the school roof recommendation prior to town meeting.
And bill of prior years.
And bill of prior years, which I'll email to the board and the finance committee. Nobody from the finance committee here anymore, but I'll email the board and the finance committee with what the final number for prior year bills will be by Thursday this week.
And just let me know if the Boston Globe is in there still.
I want to know what our subscription costs.
Put it on our credit card.
Oh, Peter.
I hear we've got those.
And Mark and I are going to attend the school building committee meeting tomorrow night for the roof. I'll report back on Wednesday.
Make him buy dinner.
Yes. You're buying dinner?
Be prepared to talk about,
I'm going to serve herring.
be prepared to talk about what type of fasteners and what type of pneumatic tools you'll be needing to put the shingles on the roof.
My plan is
Just joking, but that's what it seems they're asking.
If I'm asked, I'm going to provide what I would consider an overview from sitting here listening to you guys of your concerns.
Okay. Town administrator's report?
All right.
Just remember, 5 o'clock on Monday. I don't want to let that go
5
by.
o'clock on Monday. First, contract for electronic participation at the 2026 Annual Town Meeting, and want to inform the board that I signed the contract with Meridia Interactive Solutions to allow for the clickers for this annual town meeting. Voters supported the funding and appropriated $35,000 from free cash. The project is designed and staffed for the rental of 700 clickers, and the cost of the contract was $16,950. I executed that last week, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago now. We had a regional health fair on Saturday at the Cultural Center. I wanted to thank everybody who helped make Saturday's regional health and environmental fair at the Cultural Center and Municipal Building this past weekend a success. In particular, I'd like to recognize Carrie Schooner, our health director. She really did a great job putting the event together, and there was a lot of staff there that donated their time to be able to help make that a success. The collaboration among Harwich, Chatham, Orleans, and Eastham Health Departments, along with county partners, local organizations, and dedicated presenters, created a meaningful day of learning about different aspects of the community and making connections. I'm grateful to our staff and volunteers, vendors, and residents who contributed their time and energy to bring this event together. It was really, really solid turnout. Didn't you think, Mark? It was a lot of people there. Yeah.
Parking lot was jammed.
Yeah, it was good. Update, we touched on a little bit earlier with VHB, but just wanted to provide an update regarding VHB and Bassett Lane. This week I started working on an agreement with VHB, who will be supporting the town on multiple transportation fronts. They're partnering with my office to set up a meeting with Mass DOT to further explore the opportunity to obtain a curb cut for Bassett Lane at Route 124. This would be a key step in making the roadway operable.
The Marceline property?
Yeah, given its proximity to the Marceline Penrose Affordable Housing Development being advanced by the Harwich Affordable Housing Trust. In addition, VHB is working with me on updating next steps to the North Harwich traffic study, which I mentioned to the board previously. I did ask them when they'd be able to complete prioritization and cost estimates, and they should be able to present something to the board in the next coming months on that. So working with them on trying to figure out what to do next with Bassett Lane, and then also infrastructure around, pretty much around that intersection, the 124 Queen Anne intersection. I attended my first Cape Cod RTA meeting last week, which I guess I'm a sitting voting board member. I didn't know that. There was an audience there. There was like 20 people that watched us. So I attended the first Cape Cod RTA meeting this past week for the advisory board that I sit on as the Harwich representative. It was an opportunity to learn more about the current trans operation, regional ridership trends, and ongoing initiatives that they have. We voted the FY27 budget and discussed future projects that they're planning and initiatives they're working on. The hardest part for me was finding the transportation hub, which is behind DJ's Wings in Hyannis, that is massively huge, that I didn't even know existed. I don't know.
Should have taken the bus.
I should have taken the bus. I've
Just
taken
have
the
to
bus
call
from
ahead.
Plymouth, but apparently I never took
It's
it
going
from
your
Hyannis.
way.
You just have to call ahead, they'll come right to you.
I don't think they do a very good job with the wayfinding, because it was hard to find that place. But, and then just, so we worked on a number of initiatives, the Citizens Guide and pre-town meeting videos to try to get public participation and understanding of what's going on with town meeting next week. So I'd just like to take a minute to thank the people that helped me with that. We put together a number of pre-town meeting videos with the Harwich channel. I'd like to thank Jamie and Emily for helping me make that a reality, along with Dinah Lane for her excellent work in hosting the segment. Emily, Mitchell, and myself we walked through all the warrant articles and provided explanations of the terms and process to help residents prepare for the meeting next week. I'm not sure that we have like Emmy award-winning numbers probably, but I think we did our best to try to get as much information as we could out. Following that segment that Emily put together first on process and preparation for town meeting, Emily, Dinah and I met with Monroe Superintendent Dr. Scar Carpenter to review Monomoy-related articles, and then a number of our department heads came in to talk through. John Harker, Christine came in, and we talked through a lot of the different capital and the LCP and different articles that are at town meeting. So I'm hoping that anybody that had the opportunity to watch those videos saw them as valuable, and that it helped the process next week a little bit. So thank you to the team for helping put that together.
You missed something that you did that has an impact on Jeff and the Housing Trust, so I'm going to bring that up. Getting back to Bassett Lane, Jay and I had talked about this. We went back in the articles, and the eminent domain taking the Marceline, that slice in the middle. We didn't actually use the eminent domain, as you recall. We negotiated the purchase. But the way it was stated in the article allows the board to convey it to the Housing Trust, so the whole property is a Housing Trust now, all the way from Queen Anne Road right up to Route 6.
Okay.
So that's
Yeah,
good.
pretty
That should be
straight-
good news.
Great news.
Pretty definite. No verbiage in there that would make me think anything else. Definitely it was for affordable housing, so, for the Affordable
That's
Housing
good news.
Trust.
Thank you.
So we just have to
I
convey
thought you'd
it.
want to hear that.
Yeah, for sure. It clears up a lot of future issues.
Well, you can use an internal road now. So
I don't know what MassDOT's gonna say when we meet with them about that curb cut, but we're gonna go do it, so.
you know, it really doesn't matter, because like I said, the biggest advantage now is that you've got a clean sheet of paper that you can actually take a road internally from the south, where Queen Anne Road is, and shoot it up towards north to Route 6. And I'm sure that Mass DOT is going to be a lot happier if you can, you know, spread out the traffic pattern so that you don't, there's no way. I mean, I think you agree with that, Jeff. There's just no way where, even on a school day in the fall or spring, never mind in the summertime, that you're going to be able to get in or out of that thing if the sole entrance and exit is onto Queen Anne Road about 1,000 feet away from a traffic light.
Right, especially when we have the other
It's going to be
option.
blocked.
There's a curb cut further north on 124. We're going to try to do a new curb cut straight off Bassett rather than have to go north and go into that opening. But we'll see what Mass DOT says.
Okay.
I see that Brendan Lowney was online there, but he wasn't, and he's not. But I will bring that to the trust tomorrow.
Okay.
Great news.
Yeah, I think I mentioned it to Michael, too.
Oh, great.
So, yep.
Thank you.
Okay, any questions for the town administrator? Hearing none. Member reports. How was your winter vacation?
It's very nice, thank you.
Okay.
I'm gonna bring up my annual subject because Jay hasn't been part of the discussion in the past, but it is not only political season, it is the season and when we see all these signs pop up around town. And
I think no less of you.
and I really don't want to see them all over town again. I know Mr. Handler struggled last year. He stopped at every yoga class on the beach, including in Chatham and Brewster and everywhere else. But if we could enforce the sign law, bylaw, and signs just can't be put up everywhere around the
It's
community.
like
Well, on signs basically, but we have people that tack them on the telephone poles and everywhere else, so,
we have a sign bylaw.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's not just, he's right, it's not just political signs. I mean, I can tell you pretty much everybody who cuts trees in this town. There's various services that I can pretty much tell you because they've deployed the signs everywhere.
And I'm not against small business, and that's not why I'm saying this. However, it becomes an eyesore
Yeah.
when you see them everywhere.
Oh, if we have a bylaw, then we'll figure out
Yeah.
how to enforce it
Yeah,
the best we can.
If somebody's washing a roof, I understand that they'll publicize that they're the company who's doing that, but there's supposed to be a reasonable interval, I think it's 2 weeks, where they vacate.
Okay.
This has become more of a permanent, as a matter of fact, the Marsline property was used for quite some time for one of the tree services. And that's town property.
I'll look into it. I'll get familiar with the.
I don't want to see Pete and I get,
It's not a priority. You got other things to do. I just want it on the radar.
We're gonna make
I don't want to see Pete and I get
assistant
arrested for pulling the
town
signs up.
administrator deal with that.
Well, people frown upon when I drive over them.
If you indeed were doing that.
Right.
Anita, before he gets himself into bigger trouble.
I have nothing to report. I'm good.
Mark?
Jay, as a member of the RTA, could you see if there's any programs for this upcoming summer for J2 students? Helmets, you know, it happens every year, J2 students come over, they don't
Bike
have
helmets? Bike helmets?
Yeah, and they'll get out of work at Shaw's at 9 or 10 o'clock, they'll be on the road, they don't wear light clothes. Just check into that, because there have been cases in the past. I know one case, an Irish student in Brewster was permanently disabled from.
Looks like a good job of the grant writer.
Yeah, something, but there are existing programs in the past where some organizations would buy helmets,
Yeah.
just to look at that. The other thing is, Jeff and I both stopped in at the Charter Commission. They are working really hard. If you have any concerns about governance, every Thursday, was it 6 or 6:30, Jeff? They are right in the here, and stop in and see them, at least listen. You may have some good suggestions for them.
We're going to be hosting a joint meeting.
21st.
Jeff?
Now that I'm running unopposed, Pete will be happy to know I canceled my order for 10,500 signs.
Hammer for Harwich.
I'm just gonna put one on your property.
Beautiful.
It'll be there tomorrow morning.
Look at the big one.
Right, right in the middle. I don't have anything, Mr. Chair. I just look forward to a great town meeting on Monday.
I'm with you there, Jeff, on the first subject. Democracy is an amazing thing as long as you're not running opposed.
Correct.
So with that, I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
It's opposed? It's unanimous. We'll see you on Monday at town meeting.